you really about it, I lied. I'm going to tell you how the blueprint to getting big orders. Because if you're under the impression that Black Sunflower made all that money from selling one candle at a time, you've got it mistaken. That's not what happened. So, have you ever like walked into a restaurant, a spa, any place, right, that has candles? Maybe like this big one I'm burning right now. You guys remember I made this one and I finally lit it today. Super excited, right? So you see all these candles, and if you're like me, not just with anything, right? I always think, how did they do it? And how much money? And I start calculating in my head, like, how did they get there? How did they make this money? Right? I have to see, like, that's just how my brain works. And one thing I'm really good at is making money. Most importantly, I'm very good at making something out of nothing. Something out of nothing. And I also know how to network and I know how to make these things happen. So, like I said, when people see all my success, they think it was from just the one off sales. Not true. Most of my money came from wholesale and corporate orders. And I want to give you today the blueprint for you to make it happen, because it can happen and you don't have to work as hard. I'll be honest, I don't like chasing one off sales. One candle here, one candle there. I'm going to need you to buy a couple thousand of candles at a time. Let's make that happen. That's what we want. Right? We need a lot happening. $3,000 for freaking candles. And so we're going to talk about how to seriously build that is scalable, a business that we are mastering using the most affordable resources and supplies. We know times are hard right now. Shipping is a lot. So it's time to rethink what you're actually putting into your business. Okay. How do we scale using the most efficient and cost-effective methods? How are we still providing high quality candles with that? Safe, budget-friendly candles at that. I get it. Everyone wants to have a luxury line, but if you want to make the money, maybe right now is not the time for that luxury line, especially if you want that money a little bit quickly. We want to sell candles in large quantities, right? If you want to maximize your profit per each candle, you have to do it through sheer volume. Now, one at a time, you need to do a lot. So, how can we make candles affordably? How can we do it without compromising safety, right? And how can we make it easier for us? If you guys are not familiar with who I am, my name is Jasmine, owner and founder of Black Sunflower, which started off as a candle company, but now is so much more. I now am spending my time dedicating to help other entrepreneurs, other dreamers, other visionaries create their own businesses and make their dreams come true with the Black Sunflower Business Collective. I just recently announced that I am closing my candle business. I think people missed the mark. I'm not closing it permanently, but it's definitely taking a pause so that I can spend more time building and just sharing all of the tips and tricks. And the collective has grown into something way bigger than I could ever have imagined. And I want to focus my time doing that right now. In the collective, I talk a lot about focus and how if you don't focus, you are spreading yourself very thin. So I had to pull the plug on something. All right. So we're going to get right into it. As you guys are in here, I want to say hello one more time. If you guys are Instagram, I am on YouTube. Come over onto YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure that you set those notifications because I am very random. I never set a schedule. I know I should, but I don't. And this is when I come on and drop these gems. Love your work. I make candles. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you being here. Let's get right into it. We're going to talk about the most important things, materials. How do we optimize what we have for our materials, what we purchase? How do we make every single penny count? All right. If you can start off with the foundation of creating these wholesale bulk candles with the most efficient and cost-effective materials, you're already winning. The first most important thing we have with candles are our waxes. All right. The most affordable wax you can get is a paraffin or a paraffin blend. Now, before you come for me saying, oh, paraffin's so bad, visit the National Candle Association website. Paraffin is a byproduct of petroleum. It's not giving off any more emissions than if you put olive oil in your pan and the little smoke that starts coming from that, okay? So now we know soy wax is popular, right? Paraffin wax is generally the most cost-effective option, especially if you're doing bulk production. It's easy to get in large quantities. It's usually a lot cheaper. It holds fragrance very, very well, you guys. And so when you're worried about the sinkholes, you're worried about wet spots, things like that, paraffin wax is going to treat you very good. Now, before you go out and purchase a bunch of stuff, I'm not saying to do it now, but you can start purchasing these things in bulk pallets. If you guys purchase your wax in pallets, the shipping is a lot cheaper. I paid the same amount for shipping for a pallet of wax as I have for I don't know, 4 to 5 boxes of wax. I don't remember the exact numbers right now, but it is very cost efficient when you can start purchasing pallets of wax. We will get there, okay? The next thing we have, now that we have the wax at the way, we're going to talk about, we said paraffin or a paraffin blend. That's what you're going to get. The next thing, containers. You need the simplest and most effective, cheapest containers that you can find, right? It can be tin cans. They're small. They're usually the cheapest things that you're going to get. They're very durable. They're light, which reduces your shipping costs. Glass is going to definitely weigh a little bit more. Now, just one glass jar is not a lot, but when you start adding those on, you have 12, 24, 48 in a box. They start to get heavy very quickly. Also, they're shadowproof. So you're actually able to ship them more compact. So you're able to have more of them touch rather than having glass. If you did decide you wanted glass, a small straight-sided glass jar, I don't have one here right now, but you know, the small little screw top jars, those are probably the most efficient ones that you can get. All right. And opting for the most basic ones that you can find. If you did want another straight-sided jar, like the Candle Science straight-sided jars, those are fine. If you do those, don't have lids. This takes me to the next step. No lids. This is iffy with no lids because if you start packing a bunch of boxes together, we know that exposed rim is the most delicate part of the candle. Now that you have wax in it, if something was to hit that the exterior, it's more than likely to chip. So if you want to save money, initially I would say no lids, but if you want to reduce the risk of breakage, I say go with lids. So we said tin cans, a small straight-sided vessel, glass jar. We're not talking about your expensive dream vessel or any of those expensive jars. You're not doing that. That's not what we're worried about here. We're worried about most effective and most cost efficient, okay? Most effective and most cost efficient. I'm going to take questions at the end. Please go ahead and put them in the chat and I will come back to them. If you're on Instagram, come to YouTube and put the question in the chat because I'm gonna have a hard time coming back later as people move in and out. All right. Next, we're going to talk about the wick options, right? Depending if you're using a paraffin wax, it really depends. It is a harder wax, so you're going to need a wick that burns a little bit harder. You can use like an LX or a CD wick. Wicks are not that expensive, so I'm not really worried about that, but definitely get a pre-tabbed one. It's easier to use. Most economical. Don't worry about a wooden wick or any of that. We're not worried about that. We want the most efficient. Now, when it comes to fragrance oil, we want something that's minimal and universal, the most cost efficient, right? We're not talking about makesy candle fragrances. They smell amazing. Yes, they do, but they also cost a lot more. All right. We don't want to do that. We want a scent that has mass appeal. And now we're not talking about 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 cents, right? Start off with something that most people like, a vanilla, a clean, or be honest, even an unscented. You guys, I've done a lot of orders for unscented candles. Those work amazing like restaurants, but we'll get to that later, okay? Skip the dyes, skip all the things that make the candle and the inside pretty. We're not worried about pretty. We're worried about efficiency, minimal scent load. You want to either use the lowest recommended scent load so that you still make sure that they're smelling it, right? If you use a higher scent load, once again, make sure it is a fragrance that is cost effective. Make sure it's a fragrance that is cost effective. We want to make sure that you do that, all right? Something that most people will like. Labels, bare minimum on the labels. We want the labels to be nice and simple, maybe the scent. You don't even really have to worry too much about branding, you guys. You don't need to stick your logo on whatever you're doing. You can. Maybe you put on the warning label on the bottom, something like that. And with that, purchase your labels in bulk, in mass quantities. By having 1 or 2 fragrances that you're switching from, that's all you really have to worry about, is getting those labels in bulk. The more labels you purchase, the more cost effective it will be, right? So what did we learn here from this section? We were talking about the materials. We want a affordable wax. Paraffin will be one of the cheapest waxes that you can get. We want a simple wick, all right? The containers, preferably tin or a glass jar. The ones with the screw tops work great. If you do decide to get a straight-sided jar, just remember, as you're packing them, you're going to have to make sure you package them well, because that rim is very, very fragile and it may shatter if something hits it. Wicks, keep it simple. Fragrance, you don't need a lot. 1, maybe 2, possibly even some unscented candles. Now, production. We want to be efficient. Efficiency is the name of the game. We need to batch. Invest in a larger wax melter. I'm sorry, the little pour pots are not going to help. They're not going to make it happen. Now, don't jump out the gate. If you decide to go with this method and use this blueprint, don't jump out the gate getting the bigger wax melter. Wait till you get the order, because the order will pay for that wax melter, right? Don't jump ahead. It's like when you're saying, oh, I'm going to work out, and you go buy all these gym clothes, and then the gym clothes just sit there because you never actually work out, right? So invest in a larger wax melter. The double boiler system's not going to work. The smaller pots are not going to work. I have Bertha. Bertha was an investment. Bertha is a 100-pound wax melter. 100 pounds. I can knock out a whole lot of candles within a short amount of time for that. So while that wax is melting, I'm able to prep my jars. I'm able to prep my wicks. This brings me to the next point, an assembly line approach. You want to have an assembly line approach to what you're doing. I use the baker's racks to help keep everything together. So all the jars in baker's racks, you know, you have them all wicked, pre-wicked, pull them out, pour, let them cool. And when they're halfway cool, you put them back on the rack to move them out the way. Temperature control. You want to make sure that you have a reliable thermometer. Okay. You want to keep the temperature consistent, and where you're pouring, you want to keep it consistent. Don't pour, like I pour in my garage now. Don't pour in the house and out the house. The temperatures fluctuate. I want to know what's going to happen and how my candles are going to function every single time I pour them. I don't have time to worry about, oh, wait, this isn't working right. Or, oh, now I have wet spots. No, we need a standard method. So standardization is very important. All right. Not only in your assembly line and streamlining your efficiency, right? It's also in your model, your business model. We're not doing customizations with this one, you guys. If you want to get the most money out of it quickly, either no customization or you upcharge for those customizations. Let's say, you know, right now I only want to do one particular fragrance, but you have somebody who does want to, like, you know what? I do want 1,000 candles, but I prefer, I don't know, we're going to say strawberries and whipped cream because that's my best-selling candle. Cool, we can do that, but it's not something I normally do. So there is a charge for that, you guys. And minimal curing time, right? In the candle community, there is this thing about saying, oh, let your candle cure for 2 weeks. I call bull. Every single, at least with what I've used in every single class that I've taught, and people who have used my method, 24 hours works great enough. All right. It works good. By the time you finish all the candles, pack the candles, ship the candles to them, if it really bothers you, it would have been at least a week. Test it yourself. Don't just follow blindly. If somebody's telling you the candle needs 2 weeks to cure, what I did, I was like, this makes no sense. I can't keep up with this. I lit the candle. It smelled great. I shipped it off. Okay. So streamlining production, being efficient is how you're going to be able to change your business model, right? To create orders in bulk. This is the bulk model path. We're not worried about one candle here. We're not worried about one candle there. We want people to order hundreds, thousands of candles at the same time. That's how you're going to change the game. Instead of focusing on worrying about one person here and there buying off of Instagram, we're going to find the people who want to buy hundreds and thousands of candles from us. Candles aren't going anywhere, right? We need to make sure you know the true cost of what your candles cost you. You need to know the wax. You need to know the wick. You need to know how much fragrance costs you, how much the container, how much the label, how much the packaging. You need to even incorporate your labor. How much does it cost you to make each candle? And you need to incorporate that in your pricing, and you need to price for profit. We have a worksheet. Adriana, our bookkeeper in the collective, has an amazing worksheet that you can follow that helps you price for profit. Usually wholesale products are like 50% of retail, whatever you would retail your stuff in. This right here is not a cost or a pricing course. We're overviewing everything. But if we want to go deeper, we can go deeper. All right. And also make sure you add any overhead stuff that you have. You do, guys, want to incorporate your utilities, your space. If you're renting a space, your insurance, add those into it. There's also, if you really want to dig deep, you can depreciate your equipment and add it to that as well. All right. So some people do the rule of thumb, like the ×2 method. I say make sure you have everything and price for profit. 40%, 50%, something like that works. All right. Then you want to create a tiered volume for pricing. So we're not saying, oh, you purchased 12 candles or 24 candles. No, we have 100 to 200 candles, 200 to 500 candles, how much it costs. For example, let's say somebody purchases 100 to 200 candles. We sell those candles for, I don't know, let's say it costs you $3 to make the candle and you want to sell each candle for $7 or $10. I don't know. I'm throwing out numbers right here. It depends on where you are, where you're positioned, and what you're trying to accomplish. Okay. And have a shipping strategy, because shipping is not going to be cheap, you guys, especially for bulk orders. So another way to get around that is either A, put that shipping cost into the cost of your candles, and then you can reduce the cost of shipping, right? Or you need to make sure that you get an account with a UPS, with FedEx, right? Freight companies, and being able to ship it out with using a pallet, depending on how big your orders are, right? And your profit margin per candle will be smaller when it's in bulk, but we're going for the overall profit because of the volume that we're selling. Now, who are we actually targeting with this? Who are we targeting? We need to find our customers. And what ways do you do that? First of all, who can we target? We have event planners, like wedding planners, wedding coordinators, party planners. I did property management. Rental companies were my big one. Real estate agents, restaurants, cafes, hotels, even Airbnbs. You know, some people have multiple Airbnbs. Any place that uses multiple candles, especially small candles, that they're trying to set the ambiance or just have additional product to sell within their stores. Companies for corporate gifting. Holiday season is right around the corner. If you take this and implement it right now and start reaching out, listen, it's never too early to start locking in your sales for the holidays, you guys. They're going to start thinking about it. And even if they are not thinking about it now, go ahead and send them a little gifty gift to show them, like, hey, if you want to show appreciation to your employees, or you're trying to win over new contracts, I have some gifts for you, right? Online marketplaces. Look at different online marketplaces like Fair. Is it Fair? Yeah, Fair. That's a good place to start, because people are already on there looking for wholesale gifts. That's another way to get out there. Local networking. You guys, your Chamber of Commerce's, business expos, any sort of large networking events, visit those. Everybody is looking for a gift of some sort. And I will tell you one foolproof method to always get somebody to continuously try to dig more in and see, oh no, I'm interested. No one has ever told me no. I literally just say, hey, have you ever thought about a fragrance for your company? Have you ever thought about even a signature fragrance? Because we said before, even though we're not customizing, we will for an additional fee, right? Mm-hmm. So local networking is a really great way. Creating a very nice, clean, or simple digital catalog would work amazing. So just taking that simple, everything that you have, putting it in a catalog, and just sending it out to people where somebody can come back and request a quote, having nice pictures set up in it. And then you want to focus on the benefit. When you're reaching out to these people, to these restaurants, to these cafes, to these hotels, right? You want to focus on the benefit. It's affordable. The quantity that you can buy in. and the consistent quality, because we work, we've done our testing, we've done our research, and we've purchased high quality materials. Talk about how your candles can help create an atmosphere, how you can use them for party favors, or fill gift baskets, right? It's really something easy to do without necessarily breaking their budget. These companies have this money. They need to spend it. Let's have them spend that money with you. Now, you don't have to try to be everything for everyone. You need to focus on a clear and simple value proposition. Like, what are you really trying to do? And for this model that we're talking about here, high quality, affordable candles in volume, period. Whether it's for gifting, corporate events, restaurants, so on and so forth. Now, doing candles in bulk is definitely a different beast than the pretty, oh, let me make this all cute and foofy candles, right? But it's about efficiency. It's about low cost per unit. It's about building relationships, because as you start doing this and you have one order, and that's how it starts to compile. Once you work with one person, they're going to refer you to somebody else. They're going to refer you to somebody else. The people who get those gifts, because those 100, 200 candles that you're going out, that's possibly 100 to 200 more people who may have a business, may be a real estate agent, whatever, that may want to put in a bulk order with you as well. All right. And when you optimize your materials and you streamline your entire process from your production and mastering bulk pricing, make sure you get your pricing in check and make sure you're targeting the right customers. You can build a very, very, very profitable, but also scalable candle business. So I need you guys to think outside the box now. Stop worrying about the one-off sales on Instagram. Stop worrying about the one-off sales in markets. You need to go to the places where the business and the corporations are, the people who have those big dollars, who they need to spend them. They need to spend this money. Why are they not spending it with you? I'm going to tell you why. Because you're too focused on these one-offs. You're not reaching out. You're not following up. You're not letting people know, hey, this is what I have. And even before you dive into this blueprint and create it for your own, just start even putting feelers out there. Do you go to a restaurant that already has candles? Do you go to a spa that already has candles? Spark up conversation with them. It does not have to be that hard. You're making it harder than it has to be. Okay? Harder than it has to be. One of the easiest ways to get your first contract is to start with places that you already are a customer at. And if there's some place that you want to purchase your candles and you're not a customer of theirs yet, become one. It's so much easier to spark up the conversation when you're actually a customer than somebody randomly off the street saying, hey, look at my flyer, you want to buy this? 9 times out of 10, I'm going to tell you no. But after I've established a relationship and I built rapport, yes, please tell me more. All right. So I would love to know, first of all, what did you guys think about this? Was this helpful? Does it sound like something that you would be interested in trying? I see. What about candle science? Candle science is great. Candle science is great. The jars, definitely. The oils, definitely. Honestly, a lot of the stuff, you can get it straight from candle science, right? Yes. Was this helpful? What are your thoughts? I would love to know, what are your guys' thoughts on doing bulk candle sales? This is how I did it. I had an order back in I think it's 2023. I keep mixing it up. 2023 or 2022. It was in January. I know, because I took a picture of the check, because I never had a check that big in one sitting. And it was just looking at me. And I said, all of this for wax and candles? I said, wow. Wow. And that was I've had a lot of really big, that was the biggest, but I've had a lot of really big checks just from candles, because I was focused on the bigger picture and not the smaller. Okay. You are very, very welcome. And if you're trying this out, please come back into the comments. Let me know how it's going for you, right? If you want to learn more about how to scale your candle business, this is just one of the many things I teach inside the collective. And if you're interested in becoming a member, just go over to blacksandflowerbusinesscollective.com. The link is in the description. And you can find out more there. We have our open community where you can come in and learn from other business owners, entrepreneurs, and just get some support. And we have a lot of other fun stuff. But today, it's about finding how you are going to scale. How are you going to scale? And so, with that being said, I think this was a great random live. It was something that's just been sitting on my heart that I wanted to talk about. I would love to open up once again to questions. Do you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, anything that you would like to share? I am here. We're going to keep this live going for a little bit longer. If I don't get any questions, I will get off. But until then, I'm here to answer your questions. If you're watching, make sure that you subscribe. Also, make sure that you set those notifications because I'm very random. I started my candle business, Luxury Delight Candle Company in Chicago, July 2024. Next month, July 29th, will be my 1-year anniversary. Congratulations. That is huge. You are so very welcome, Candles by Beyond Lit. You are very welcome. I would love to hear how this works out for you guys. I would love to hear if it was difficult. Did anything scare you about it? There's a lot. There's a lot that you can do within the candle business. And if I was to start my candle business all over again from scratch, I think I'd probably focus on solely wholesale candles, honestly. Because I spent a lot of money, or not money, I spent a lot of time trying to focus my message in two different places. But I think if I really just honed in on one, I could have had a lot more, even bigger checks from that. So it looks like there aren't any questions. So with that being said, we are going to call it a night unless something else sparks my interest a little bit later. I'm going to go do some video editing, get some things done, and you may or may not see me back tonight. So make sure you set those notifications, subscribe, comment, and make sure you share. All right? Replay, yes, it's going to stay live. This is going to stay live. So you'll have a chance to watch this again. Talk to you guys later and have an amazing evening. Thank you.